What's up, you preppers? Arkansas Prepper Network, playing havoc here. So, what are we discussing tonight? Prep of the week, Pro 2A, any Arkansas fans? Let me hear what you have to say. Getting set up right now. So, as far as prepping, what we were trying to do is get everyone away from that doomsday prepper type of mentality. Prepping can be day to day. It can be, hi, Tactical, how are you? Good to see you in here. Prepping can be day to day. You prep without even realizing it. You buy groceries for a week at a time, 2 weeks at a time. Prepping is taking those same standards and multiplying it month, 2 months, 3 months. And not only with food, but with supplies, being more self-sufficient. A lot of homesteaders focus on the self-sufficiency, being able to grow their own gardens, being able to raise their own animals for food, clothing, etc. There are so many aspects, and it's all encompassing with preparedness. And it takes so many shapes and forms that you get people who specialize and think in one direction when really we all benefit from knowing the skills of each direction. And part of that is what we're trying to do is bring everyone together. You have your defense people, your firearm enthusiasts. You have the ones that stockpile food. You have the ones that homestead, grow their gardens, stockpile seed. Everything is brought all into one place as a prepper. Hi, Lone Wolf. Hi, Sally. Glad you could make it. Would any of you want to be on the panel? Let's see what we can do here. I am very new at this. I've been on other streams, but I have not run one myself before, so this is going to be kind of bumpy. I hope you have your seatbelts. Let's see here. You could be up here on the screen as well, if you'd like. Let's see, I believe that's how we do this. Ah, wrong link. Let's try this one. I apologize for the technical difficulties. Again, this is our first stream, and I'm just learning the interface. hard time hearing you. Are you muted? Understandable.
Can you hear me now?
I can.
Awesome.
Welcome to the panel.
Awesome. Thank you.
So how are you tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. I caught your invite off of MeWe.
Nice.
Yeah. So
I'm guessing you're interested in prepping, but you focus on a little bit of the defense side.
yeah. I just saw about ago and had a homestead and been prepping for about the last 5 years and just a little bit more reliance aspect of it, and it came to be homestead because I was real towards firearms for a while. It's kind of clicked.
Yeah. It sounds like we're getting a little bit of an echo.
Okay.
Hi, Lone Wolf Survival, prepping in progress. Good to see you.
Is that better?
It's still doubling everything you say on my end. Let's see.
Cool.
How about chat? Do you hear doubles?
I'm actually not anything in the chat. There we go.
Now we lost your video.
Awesome.
That'll work. So, as prepping, what do you like to focus on?
Well, lately it's been a lot more towards like the 1800s type stuff. So self-reliance, being able to reduce as much as I possibly can myself.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see if I can kill you quick. My thing.
All right.
Do that.
Video's coming through great.
Okay. Audio.
Audio sounds good now.
Okay. Yeah, just doing something goofy with YouTube.
Always.
First time for everything.
Well, I mean, perfect proving ground.
Yeah. So, are you what region in Arkansas are you approximately located?
We started Northwest Arkansas around the Fort Smith region. Back in 2009, it was just a few of us that started, and it grew, and we actually split out into chapters. One of the chapters grew so big that it actually split off and created the Arkansas Preparedness Network.
All right.
And after that point, the rest of us we kind of fell back because they were doing so well. We were just kind of cheering them on and kind of taking a back seat. We actually closed down for 5 years and just individually kept going as we did. After last year, things changed to where we decided to come back together because we had all focused on our own skill sets that were getting further and further apart, the original founders. And we talked and decided to get back together because Well, having certain areas to focus on is great. Being able to say, hey, brother, I know you're good at this. You think you can help me out with that? I can help you out with this. And that is what the network is really about, because you've got your defense groups in Arkansas. There's the Bushcraft, Homesteaders. I aspire to be a homesteader personally. Uh, Stocking up food's one thing, but if you have to haul around 3 years worth of food, that's not going to go fast. If you know how to grow your own food, how to catch, trap, what have you, the skills are really what is important. It's not just what you have physically.
100%, 100%. It's a lot of people get hung up on the gear aspect of things, and I've noticed that owning does not equal proficiency in a lot of ways. Getting out and using a lot of the stuff that you've hoarded over the year is kind of my modus operandi. Do you know Gordy by chance?
I know someone that could fit that name.
Okay, I was just kind of because that Arkansas APN rang a bell. I was just wondering, same region.
It went through some leadership changes over the years, but I've met several.
Okay. So, yeah.
Good evening, Crystal. Sorry, watching the chat at the same time.
Yeah, it's I'm forth, and it's just a bit of a learning curve for me as well.
Yes.
So, as far as the preparedness aspect on your end, you kind of went through this as far as like something that got your hackle up a little bit, and then hey, maybe I should be more prepared at a timeline, met that goal, and then now you're focusing the next step on that as well. So
politics are a leading factor. The way society has changed quickly, that kind of changes your gear setting. Hey, I've been lazy the past 5 years. I need to get back in gear, that kind of thing. And I think a lot of other people felt that way because over the past 5 years, people really haven't been gung-ho about it. They've said, yeah, we do a little bit here and there. Now it's, I need to get some stuff. I need to learn this. I need to do this. And really it's just brought the focus back into laser focus, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've noticed a big surge in people just to certain areas that are a little bit more conducive towards their belief systems, both politically and spiritually. Something that I find is kind of interesting in its own right, because there's a bit of net separation occurring between belief structures and implications.
Yeah, separation is not what we need right now at all. There are so many people with skill sets far above my own. I know what my skill sets are that could be beneficial to others, but I don't know everything, and I can't do everything. My family, it's the same way. Even a family unit that knows one way of doing things, it's like anything else. There's more than one way to skin a cat, and my way may not be the best. So those people networking and teaching each other, learning from each other, that is the network's purpose. We're not really a group per se anymore. We have multiple groups within the network that communicate with each other. And I think that's probably the best way to go, because each group has their own specialty, has their own leadership, their own tree, their own tribe.
100%.
We're just trying to bring all of the tribes together, so with a common ground that we have more in common than we realize sometimes. Those that say, I'm just going to throw on a backpack and go out in the woods. That's great. I mean, that's good for you. If you have the skill set to do that, doing it alone, it's going to suck. But if you have others that you can stop by, would have your back, or you would have theirs, then that one person going from place to place, tribe to tribe, can still be an asset to themselves and others. So
I'm same page. The same page as that is just having a basically group of people, a network of like-minded, capable individuals that have their own unique specialties, that skill sets that are well above my own. Personally, like one thing that I'm deficient, let's just say, is communications. I have my ham radio technician license, but I am by no means the radio can plug in PL codes and hook up towers, and I know all the frequencies and everything already. I can't do that. I ran it in one time, but to have some or a group of people that's just man, that's what they do, and have them at least some way adjacent towards network is absolutely beneficial, and it's definitely mutual to have something I can bring to the table. What's my skill set? What can I give them to help me too?
Absolutely.
It's mutual. So
I am radio dumb. I can mess with computers, build them, network them all day long. But when it comes to the radios, I'm just lost half the time. Fortunately, we have other people that can teach. They can say, hey, hook this cable up here. Okay, I can do that. I can get power to it. I can make electrons flow. But as far as knowing how to set everything up, knowing how everything works, no. But it's good to have someone to lean on that could either teach that or be able to manage that. Hi, Lynn. You're still hearing some echo?
Still some echo.
Good evening, Four Corners. How are you? Oh. Well, I guess we lost him. Would anyone else be interested in talking about anything from first aid, a little on the homestead guy? Is there still an echo on my end? Good evening, farmers. How are you? Good to see you. Just taking a look through the chat. Hello, Bad Ghost. Good to see you. As I was saying, the network is not just a group. We hope to bring everyone together to learn from each other. If you have your own tribe, your own group, we want to learn from you, and hopefully we can teach you some of the ways we do things in my personal group or others. There are several groups in the network and several friends we've made along the years that are not necessarily on board with networking, but they have a lot of skills that individually they would be willing to share with you. You're right, Lynn. Encryption is one thing that I actually love to do with computers. If I knew the radio aspect of it and was able to link the two together, you could have encrypted chat or encrypted comms. Hey, Redneck. Good to see you. Actually, Redneck, hop in here. And land herbal uses is one thing that I am trying to learn right now. I know a few of the medicinal ones. We've kind of we kind of focus on medical in Northwest Arkansas. Most of the groups in this region. Hey, Tactical. See you back here.
How's it going? How's it going?
Welcome back.
Yeah, technical difficulty.
It's still doing it. Ah.
See what I can do here. Find some better equipment.
Might be your connection speed. Redneck, we've spoken in chat several times before, and actually had a leghorn slash red hen that has just red on her throat. And we actually written it after seeing chat set of not hearing anything from you now, just the feedback from my audio.
Yeah, I think it's connection speed. It's nothing I can think of.
I think so. Now that actually came through.
Well, I guess I could continue to talk, or I could try to stay quiet.
No, you're coming through great now.
Ah, okay, cool.
I'm not sure how it fixed, but it fixed.
I don't care how it works as long as it works, right?
Exactly.
See if there's anybody I know on here. Prepping in progress. What's going on?
Good to see you prepping in progress.
This is Steven.
Yeah. This is pretty laid back. Being the first stream, I really don't know what I'm doing. So, and I'll be the first to admit it. This has just been a fun experiment.
That's pretty cool. This URL that you use, is it just kind of an open, or is it like a very situation for YouTube only?
Right now, it goes to YouTube. We're using StreamYard to send to YouTube, but we will also, once I get everything programmed correctly, it'll go into our Discord channel for the network, our Facebook page, and hopefully to MeWe.
Awesome. Yeah, I was curious because I picked up the invite from MeWe for the live stream because I don't do like I really have a YouTube account, but I was hoping that carry over because MeWe seems to be catching up as far as a lot of the networking and communication aspects of things.
Right. We set a page up there, but we don't get a lot of feedback on it. Of course, we don't do a lot of posts. We were putting some of the website articles there. Uh, I I think I know which chat. I only sent a link to one chat outside of our page in MIUI. It was one of the defense groups, and let's see.
Redneck Prepper 5x5. That is one awesome background picture, by the way.
Oh, thanks. I figured, what better way to show Arkansas than with the hogs?
Yep. Yep.
Commissioned an artist to get that done for us, and outside of a couple little things, like the trigger, that trigger finger still bugs me, but I kind of like it.
That's pretty cool. What's the guy here in the chat? Whoop, pig, that's right. It took me about 4 months to realize that was the Arkansas Razorbacks football game chant. I was like, man, these people are obsessed with pig.
Arkansas living. Good to see you, brother. Oh, we lost you. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just booting people. Hey, NWA Prepper, how are you? Good evening. Hope everyone's having a safe evening. 4th of July, Independence Day. How many of you had Mortar Wars? I used to love doing that. Paintball. Now I'm too old and fat for that. I'm trying to get better, though. As far as homesteading, if you haven't gotten into it, if you don't have the space, prepping is perfect. You can store your food, but once you graduate past the food and you get some land, definitely look into homesteading and self-sufficiency. Growing your own garden, having a greenhouse, raising some animals. Start out small. Chickens, rabbits, pigs. You can do a lot of things on a small area of land. And if you have more land, you can do much more. But it's also more work. And if something happens and you're too close to the interstate or the river, you are not going to be able to move all of that. So you have to think about what your personal balance would be as far as the prepping aspect, the homesteading aspect, or even bugging out if you have to. And there are multiple ways of looking at it. Some say, I'm going to bug out as soon as something big happens. And some are going to have the more wait and see approach. Either way is fine as long as it's for you, you have it practiced, you have it well thought out, because that's what preparedness is. It's not just the doing of stuff, it's the knowing what to do. If X happens, I do Y. If X plus Z happens, I do J. Having all of this planned out beforehand, that greatly increases your odds of survival. Not only survival, but thriving in a situation like that. Knowing people, knowing how each person or each tribe, group, what have you, operate, and what each specialty is of each group. That and the connections you make within those groups is what helps the community. Not just your group, not your tribe, not just the other tribe, but both. Say 6 months after a shift situation, and you have a member from one group meet a member from another group. Are they friendly groups? Most likely. We're all in Arkansas. We're not going to sit here and try to take each other out. We're not those people. There are some close to us, especially Northwest Arkansas, that have to watch out. There are groups that train just to take. And those folks up in extreme Northwest Arkansas, I actually worry about in that situation, because I've seen what some of those guys can do, and I'm just glad we have defense focus groups here in Arkansas. Sorry, just looking through chat some more. Lone Wolf, I hear you. I don't have a ton of land myself, and everybody needs to be looking for the right land. Sally, thank you. I don't have a clue what I'm doing. As Arkansas Living would say, I don't know stuff. Extremist, yeah, I agree. Arkansas people are generally pretty good. You have some that get into the drugs, things like that. But all in all, I think if a shift situation were to happen, we'd be pretty good here because, well, most of it's rural farming communities anyway, outside of the big cities. And people know how to take care of themselves one way or another. Four Corners, that sounds perfect. Of course, Tactical. Oh, I see you now.
Man, I swear, technology.
Technology.
I don't know if you got an Android or an Apple, but the way this is laid out is if you click on the chat to look at the chats, the back button to exit back out and look at the video is the same button that closes out the entire browser.
Phones are difficult. I don't know how Arkansas Living does it. He can sit there and run a stream and chat with everybody. He is a pro at this stuff. I wish he'd jump on here and, give a good laugh. He's a good guy. I have a house in Woody here in a well. Wells are good to have if they're not bad.
I actually copied one of your earlier statements about being able to bug out versus bug again, and basically having contingency plans and working tricks to determine your actions based upon a particular or affect you. That really ties into homesteading over, because basically as I understand it, and I think preparedness is basically just building up a resiliency to hardship. That's how I look at it in any case.
I think I caught some of that. It's doubling again.
All right.
As far as it ties in with homesteading, you said?
Yes. So preparedness is best as you're limiting hardship. You're trying to not suck during something bad happens. And homesteading ties right in. It's just a different method in a lot. you're buying your time. But if you're forced to a particular area, then it's very very beneficial to have an extended people that at least think the way you do, and you know them, whether or not we're a group. Having mutual ground is very very advantageous ways.
So as far as learning how to homestead, it's still doubling. I'm trying to paraphrase what you're saying. As far as homesteading and bugging in, that still helps as far as being able to. Sorry, is that noise coming through, everyone?
It's a little bit. It's not bad.
Let me do a fix real quick.
Check the chat.
Top quality production here, people.
Universal Studios, man.
With homesteading and bugging in, being able to have the skills and have somewhat of a comfort area on your own land, and then if it gets bad enough, knowing the people that you could go to with your skills and preps, building those relationships are important, whether they're in your group or not. Is that what you're pretty much saying?
Yes, yeah. Homesteading. That's what I do currently. Obviously, the names homes, but I'm still a prepper. I still have things that I've saved up. I'm not going to get into detail, but
right.
I'm prepared. I also homestead on top of that because the preparedness side of it is time that I've basically purchased. I just bought time with those preps.
Yes.
The homesteading is engineered towards more of a self-reliant, but I can still be displaced.
Yes, anyone can. That's why knowing as much as you can from all aspects, the defense, homesteading, prepping, trapping, bushcraft, all of that comes to one central point, and that is survival. Doesn't matter if you're surviving a tornado, the aftermath of a storm. Doesn't matter if you're surviving a shift situation or some financial ruin. There are so many different scenarios that just the prepping and the knowledge can help get you through that.
Absolutely. And everybody, even though they want to think that they're not a prepper, to agree whether or not their lifestyle choices reflect it. Every prepper, you have a toolkit in your car. You have a toolkit in your buy a new car. It's
Yep.
There. It's under the back seat.
And that's what drives me nuts is people say, "Oh, you're a prepper." All they know about preppers is what they've seen on TV, what they've seen on doomsday preppers, and the ones that are sensationalized because they go extreme. And I don't mean extreme as in, oh, I'm going to go blow up something. No, I mean extreme as in, I have this $80,000 bunker in the middle of the desert that I visit every month, and I have 2 years worth of food stocked up. If you can have it, great. Most of us in Arkansas probably don't.
Yeah. I think that the mainstream media has absolutely demonized and portrayed a lot of preparedness individuals in a negative light, and thinking they'd be radicalized almost, and also well funded. And that's absolutely not the case. Joe every day doesn't have $100,000 to blow survival supplies to survive the apocalypse. He's got probably about $400 he could put away every month. Hold on 1 second. I got to take this.
All right.
Where if I can find it. Hey, I'm doing a live stream right now. Can I get you back? Thank you. I got the text message.
You're absolutely right, NWA. He says one of the things that will kill me is when folks say I will never leave. There's always something that will drive us from our location sometimes. Absolutely. I mean, you can't help it if your house
There we
gets
go.
blown away by a tornado. I mean, you don't have anything to go to. At that point, your home is gone. I've been in that situation. It's kind of what got me into prepping initially, at least the idea of it. There are always situations where you have to bug out, not because of, oh, I want to. You bug out of necessity, and that would really be the only reason you have to. Sally, man, as far as liberal preppers into a group, look, politics are one thing. You can have the right and the left agree to disagree, as long as they do that. Uh, there are going to be things even between conservatives and libertarians that they disagree. They're not going to see the point the exact same way. We're human. That's what people are. You're going to have the right, the left, the middle, and the entire spectrum in between. As long as people, excuse me, as long as people are respectful to each other and work together as a team, to me, it doesn't matter if you're right or left. Now, if you start trying to push your ideals onto someone else, no matter which side you're on, that is when it becomes a hostile situation. It doesn't matter, right, extremist, as long as you're not being traitorous and people are working towards the same goals, you should be able to trust that person 100%. If you can't do that, there's no point. There are going to be people in your tribes, there are going to be people between other groups. They just don't trust each other. That's fine. You're human. We're all human. We're all going to have our own personality quirks. We're all going to have our own issues that we bring to that same table mentally. Knowing to be able to work around that towards the same goal, which is the focus of this network. Everyone, we have the same goals. We want to protect our families and protect those around us that are close. That's why we're here. If you can't focus on that goal, you don't really have business. You don't have business doing what you're doing just to get other people hurt. I don't know. Like I say, I'm new to this as far as the communication side of it. Paul, man, good to see you. Political disagreements can make things an issue, but when it comes down to survival, does politics really matter? Ideals matter, actions matter, and behavior matters. But who I want for president, who you want for president, if it comes down to putting food on the table, doesn't matter. I mean, this country has seen a civil war over similar, well, I can't say similar, over completely polar opposite beliefs. And when that happens, you can have brother and brother fighting each other for what? Sorry, I'll shut up on that point. You'll get me on a rant. Exactly, Lone Wolf. Lynn, you're right. not just a common spiritual belief, because we have most everyone in the prepping community in Arkansas are of Christian or of Christian belief, but maybe different denominations, religion to a degree. Being moral, I think, is the key word to this. Having common morals and a common moral footing is really important to a group or a group of groups. That is what helps keep people aligned with each other. Absolutely, NWA. People's core values and beliefs do run deeper than a political view. Paul, man. The key to take away from preparedness as a whole is you want to survive, you want your family to survive, you want those closest to you to survive. Do everything in your power to help that along. Welcome back, Tactical.
That time it wasn't my fault.
Hi, Ricky. Welcome to the channel. Well,
Maybe not.
okay. We'll have Ricky back here in a little bit.
Oh, thank you.
Angry Prepper. Okay. I like Angry Prepper. That man can straight spit truth, and I love that he is passionate about the way he believes. And to be in the middle of New York City as a prepper, that is props to him.
Awesome, Redneck. Good to hear. Good to hear. So, are you going to be doing these kind of regular? You just got
I'm going to try to do a weekly stream without stepping on the other channels, because there are several that I watch, and the schedule is real tricky, especially trying to get everyone together and not step on channels, because there's always a prepping channel on pretty much 24/7 now, and trying to find the ones that locally we would want to watch. Tennessee Tactical, those guys, pros. Arkansas Living, pro. Good people, and I would not want to try to compete with that, because I want to watch their channels. It's not just out of nicety. I mean, I'm the little guy. We are the small channel that is just trying to do. We have a purpose, but we're not out here to. We're not out here to just teach. We're not out here to just entertain. We're out here to bring people together. And a lot of that has to do with groups will come and go. You will have infighting. We've had it when we were a group. That's what the original split up was. And it's dumb. It really is. Because in the end, what does it matter that this person went to this class and this person didn't? Okay. As group or as a network of groups. This person went to this class. There's no reason to be jealous over that. Say, hey, do you mind teaching me this? I learned this. I went to this class, and maybe we can share some information. That's really the purpose behind trying to get everyone together. We can't go to everything. We can't learn everything, not individually. Not one of us knows everything. And if you do, you're wrong.
Yep.
It's all right.
Old adage.
Pardon?
I'm trying to think of there's only one person that ever lived on everything, knew everything to a tree.
Yep. Comment, yes, sir. On our channel main page, I actually have them subscribed. I forget which tab the tab name is. NWA, you're right. They were small channels once, but they actually have a following, and I actually like to listen to their information too. I like listening to your information, NWA. As far as the medical aspect of it, your humility, I would recommend everybody go watch NWA Prepper. Really good guy.
That name seems familiar.
You've probably met him.
If certain knows a certain that I know, probably also yes. If he's who I'm thinking of, a world.
All right, let's try it again.
How about that? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
A little quiet.
A little quiet. Hold on, let me work that. How about now? Hello.
Sounds good.
So thank you, by the way, for letting me up here on your stream. First official, I guess.
Absolutely.
Great. I appreciate that. And you were talking about communications earlier, and truthfully, communications amongst your team is going to be a vital situation. We practice a lot of communications here in my area because we're prone to wildfires. And the first thing that goes during a wildfire is communications, believe it or not.
Whereabouts are you located?
I'm in southern Colorado, about 8,500 feet elevation up in the mountains.
Colorado's some pretty country when it's not on fire.
Yes. Oh, it's beautiful. We have 3 seasons: mud season, winter, and fire season.
Yep. Last time I was there was 20 years ago, so probably a little different now.
A lot of Texans and Californians and different people moving in, but they don't stay very long. They show up, and then next thing you know, they're here for one winter and they're out of here. Let me check my levels. Are you sure you guys hear me okay?
A little quiet.
All right, let me.
Yeah, you're coming in a little soft, but you're clear.
How about that?
Much better.
All right.
There you go.
Found the problem. Like I was saying, one of the main things that we're going to lose during a shift situation is they're not going to want us to communicate. But your team. When I say your team, you've got to have a core group of people that you can that you can communicate with during any kind of situation, forest fires, heavy weather, whatever. So here where I live, we're set up. I have 2 people that I contact. Out of those 2 people, they have 2 people they contact, and it just spreads. In other words, two of my neighbors, I contact them. They have two neighbors they contact, etc., etc. No matter how they do it. It may be radio, could be phone, whatever, but a network of communication is vital during any situation. And I'd say everybody needs to start working on that.
Communication.
You bring a valid point. Yep. I like your relay based broadcast system. That's pretty cool.
Well, not only is it for to communicate, but it's to check on the elderly. Because you may be in a fire situation, one of your contact persons may be an elderly person that cannot get out. And, you know, you go check on them, and they need help getting out, whatever. I think you can understand how that would work. And we're a small community, but you know what? During a wildfire, there ain't nothing worse than somebody getting left behind.
Yep, I hear that. I was located in Prescott, Arizona when the hot shots got burned up, and something like that can get out of hand pretty quick, and it's not hard to get on the wrong side of that fire.
That's right. You know, people think, okay, well, there's a fire and it's, say, 10 miles away. Well, a forest fire can hit the tops of the trees and run 30, 40, 50 miles in no time at all.
Yep.
And that was devastating, the Prescott fire, by the way.
Yeah, it's I personally knew about half of that team, so it a little while.
Oh,
A little
wow.
while. Yeah, but it's gone now.
Right. Yep. And, you know, everybody is, there's so much inner fighting going on amongst the preppers and different channels. You know, there's certain people that start drama, and the thing about it is if you see somebody starting drama or talking behind somebody's back, or if somebody comes to me and starts talking to me about somebody else, I just tell them, shut up. I don't want to hear it. And that goes for all the prepper channels and all the infighting. Look, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear your drama. And if you react to the drama, it'll grow. If you, my number one thing is don't feed the trolls. If they're there to troll somebody or whatever, just ignore them. Move on. Learn something.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. In fact, a recent happened. An acquaintance of mine, TJ Moore, it's a Bear Independent. He did a video, and somebody mentioned that he gained a certain amount of weight, and I thought it was kind of hilarious because they have no idea who he is and what he does and what he's gone through. And then he makes a video response to that. He was very cavalier about it. I loved it, but it just plays right into what you just said. Is, you know, there's going to be people out there that just have an attitude, man, and if you give them any sort of attention, they just take it and run. And it's sad to see, but you can't fixate on that. You got to fixate on your mission.
Right. That's right. Don't feed the trolls.
Yep.
And you know what? When somebody says something bad about you or something that's supposedly going to be hurtful, you know, that shows, for you to ignore it shows that you're a much better man or woman, you know, to move on and say, whatever, you know, idiots out there.
Absolutely.
I just picked up a chat here. I think I'm having more audio trouble. Neg tech view. Yeah, YouTube side.
It's not bad.
I could try to check it, but I might end up getting kicked off of the stream again.
I'll see you at the back door if you do.
All right, I'm gonna let them buttons and see what happens.
I wonder why that is. It's almost like there's a gate breaking up his modulation for some reason.
It could be my ping time too. Running
That
mobile
sounded
data,
good.
not an internet connection.
Right.
Oh, you're not running on Wi-Fi. That would
No.
actually help.
Yeah, I'm 4G right now.
Okay, so I'm a ham operator. And ham operators,
Ham operators. Did we lose you, Four Corners?
Is muted.
Oh,
I'll be right back.
okay.
It's funny. I actually picked up my echo off video feed, and I could tell that one is like 1 second delay right there. So it's got to be my network. I'm kind of out in the middle of nowhere. So
That makes sense.
yeah.
Sorry about that.
NWA.
I had a,
Trolls are one thing. Anybody that puts themselves out there in a video, you're going to get trolls. I mean, that's just the nature of the internet, the nature of the beast these days. And some could be constructive criticism, and some are just outright malicious. And you're right. It's how they say it that would make you block. I have not seen anything negative on your videos. You've had a few rants, all well deserved, but for the most part, you approach things with humility, you approach things with compassion, and you approach things with a humanity that very few people I've ever encountered have had. As far as people, I'd say you are top-notch good people, and don't ever let anyone else tell you different. I know you don't believe badly of yourself. Just don't ever begin to, because that's not who you are. Sorry, I had to digress a bit.
oh no, you nailed it.
Overall,
He's
good to see you, brother.
if NWA is who I think he is, which based upon what you described, I think he's the same person. You're absolutely right. He's probably one of the nicest and heartfelt people I've met in a long time. And he's no dummy either.
Not at all.
Yeah, drop NWA's link in there. I don't
I did
recognize
further
him.
up.
Okay, I can find it. Good enough.
Let's see.
So I was gonna say that ham operators have the ability to stream and use computers over the radio waves. We've been doing that for years.
That is something I learned just tonight. That was
Your ham-
possible.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They've been doing that for years. And as a matter of fact, here in the Four Corners area, we have a frequency that you can get on and talk on that frequency, and you can hear it all the way around the Four Corners region. And it's all through. It's actually voice over IP to radios and repeaters and all kinds of stuff. So I would encourage everybody to get their ham license. It's not hard anymore. They took out the Morse code part, and it's all real basic, real simple.
But if I understand correctly, you can't do encryption on ham legally, can you?
Yes, you can.
You can. Okay.
Yeah. and it's happening quite a bit actually.
Okay.
So using my computer to talk to another computer over a ham frequency is basically the same thing as encryption.
I guess that makes sense.
And as long as you have the encryption codes on the other end, you can use voice over computer, over radio waves. I mean, it has expanded so huge. As a matter of fact, good friend of mine here in Pagosa Springs, we're actually setting up an encrypted communications network here. And believe it or not,
Nice.
it's not even on a ham frequency, so it's not, the people that use it won't have to have a ham license to operate it.
Not necessarily, Julie. Repeaters, if I understand correctly, there are some that are solar set up here in Arkansas, 100% solar. Um, I just learned that last week. Again, I am radio dumb. I hear things and I'm just spewing it out, and I don't have a clue what I'm talking about. But uh, as far as repeaters being down in a shift scenario, possibly if someone took it down physically, but I don't think with a power out situation we'd have any worries.
Honestly, the only thing that I could think of that's really bad for towers around here, and it's just because I've experienced this a couple times, lightning strikes.
Hmm.
Equipment, lightning hitting towers is protected. I mean, that's the number one thing. Is we have a tower over here. It's on what we call oak brush. It's right in the middle of this valley, and it gets hit all the time by lightning strikes. So lightning is going to follow its fastest path to ground or earth, and all these antennas. I mean, it doesn't hit the antenna; it hits the great big thing sticking up there saying, "Look at me, touch me," and it sends it to ground. So a lot of protection. I'm not saying it hasn't happened. A few years back, right in the middle of wintertime, oak brush got hit and knocked out all the sheriff's department transmissions. And we had to go up there and fix it.
Yeah, see, I know nothing about that. I just saw the lightning hit the tower next to me, and it did the well, I mean, it was pretty, but not good for the tower.
Right.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
No idea. I mean, I don't think it's a ham tower, to be quite honest. I think it's just a standard radio tower. But it makes sense that they
Right.
got some protection because it's not cheap to repair something like that.
No.
And where would you get the replacement parts in a shift scenario?
Right. When the county repeater went down, they had to send technicians all the way from Denver to fix it, and that was 6 hours to get here, another 4 hours to get on the mountain. So you can see how that went. It took 2 days to get it back online. But what happened was it actually hit the power supply and knocked out the power supply to the radio equipment. And it was intense.
No, okay.
Actually-
NWA Prepper just answered my question. Actually, I was going to ask you a question about private towers, Ricky, but NWA basically answered it. You just got to ground them.
Right. So I was going to bring up sharing your talents. Okay, so some of us our talents are weapons. Some of us our talents are food. Some of us our talents are first aid and stop the bleed. The thing in a community is, and when I say a community, it can be over the internet or whatever. We all get together and share our talents. I've got a lot of training in a lot of different things, and I don't have a lot of training in weapons, and I've got a good food supply. But during a situation, it's not going to be all of us getting together, running around with our heads cut off. Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! What are we going to do? It's going to be organized. Part of my training is through FEMA uh, in incident management. Okay, incident management is okay. Say for instance, an airplane crashes in up here in the mountains with 500 people on board. Is everybody going to run around screaming, "Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God!" Or is your training going to kick in? And that's what we as a community have to share is our training, our abilities. I love the prepper channels. I'm always listening to somebody out there. Uh, so, guys, quit worrying about the trolls and start concentrating on loving each other and sharing your training.
Absolutely. I mean, sharing it to use the Care Bear type quote, sharing is caring. Uh, if we care about prepping as a community, as a nationwide community, sharing our knowledge with each other, even in the smallest little bit, that could be that light bulb moment for someone else going, "Oh, I get it now." And to me, that is paramount in helping keep everyone combined. Because in a shift scenario, all we have are each other. We have our families close by, yes. But like before, we build those relationships. Say all of my preps get rated. I have friends that I know I can still be useful with my skills that would bring me and my family in just because I know what I can do, they know what I can do.
Right.
Same thing with them. If they lose their preps, their location is compromised some way, they can come to me and the same thing. That is why we need to build the relationships and quit worrying about the infighting, quit worrying about the politics at that point because everybody's just trying to make it through another day.
Yep, 100%. Something that's kind of been the forefront of lately. Excited on giving myself options. So you have a basic grasp of preparedness, and you have things stored, and then you move on into the homesteading thing, establishing that for a longer term. But it's great to have a whole bunch of food. It's not great to have a whole bunch of food one location.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of been my next stage, if you will.
Caches are good. Trusted caches are better.
It ties right into your network.
Exactly. Some people, they have caches that are hidden. Well, those hidden caches can be found, especially if unattended.
Yep.
If your caches are with other people you trust, then if something happens at your place and you do go to theirs, you still have preps there, and you can trust them that they're not going to be getting into your preps. Now, if it's 2 years down the road and you haven't been in communication that whole time, your preps are probably gone because they think in a shift situation that you're no longer on this world.
We got to cultivate and maintain that relationship.
Absolutely. And that's what society has gotten. They've caused so much division that we have a hard time maintaining relationships because everybody is so uptight and there's so much stress. Every little disagreement just pushes people further away now. And
100%. Nobody can talk to each other.
Exactly. And that is what has caused this nationwide rift, not just between the left and the right or the Christian and non-Christian. It's brother and sister, it's family, it's everyone, because they have pounded so much fear and so much resentment into everybody that it's hard to just say, we don't agree on something. Oh well, I know who you are, and that's all that matters. Sorry, that's off subject, but
Not really. That's actually pretty much dead on. Uh, they or them or whoever do not want us speaking in one voice or speaking or communicating, on the same track, or they don't want us in one accord. I mean, look back at the Bible. I mean, let's see, it was the Tower of Babel, and the people were gathered together, and they're going to go to. They said, we're going to build a tower to heaven, and God says, oh no, you're not. So He foddered their language, so they couldn't be on the uh, same page, if you may. So that's what's happening with a lot of people. I see in a lot of these channels I go to, and a lot of times I'm watching. I ain't saying nothing. I'm just listening, and it's a good learning experience to sit and listen. And that's what these instigators are doing on purpose, and some of them are probably even paid to create division and discord amongst us. We the people, that know what's going on.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree, and I hope my audio's coming in. You nailed a lot of good points, man. Is they're pushing a lot of these agendas. I'm not trying to get too conspiratorial, but I doubt that a single person on this entire chat racist, or xenophobic, or probably even homophobic for that matter. Nobody probably cares what you do or how you feel about any of that. But yet they make it to where it's this complete crisis these days, to where nobody can talk or actually discuss in depth any of these differences. They generate them and don't allow us to actually solve them ourselves. They want to solve them for us.
Exactly. And
Julie's got it right there in Matthew chapter 24 is where the Bible talks about our love for each other going cold. And, that's really spurred on by society and how society set it as odds with one another, whether or not it's on either side of the Mason-Dixon line, or it's because of the color of your skin, or it's because of your income. Our society has done a really good job of dividing people. And instead of that, I think what we need to focus on is where we can come together instead of what divides us. You know what I mean? Because a divided house cannot stand. I mean, that's not going to happen.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Left man, you're roboting a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it on the head. Look at it.
That's my connection.
You say, oh, well, you're anti-government, or you're an extremist, and it's like, well, you're trying to divide us, keep us from talking to each other, take away our ability for free speech, take away our rights to defend ourselves, and then subsidize us for following rules when we're more to them.
And what people, they sling that anti-government term around. People aren't anti-government; they're anti-bad government.
Tyranny.
Exactly.
Correct.
And I am pro-government at a small degree.
Yeah.
Local.
Minimal government. But because people really do not need to be controlled. And that is what a lot of government organizations try to do. Or people, certain individuals within even local governments try to control the government to control people. Whether it's through their money or political connections, things like that. And everybody wants it to be their way. Why not let everyone have it their own way, as long as it does not hurt others? Is that not what the principles we were founded on initially? Small government, exactly, Redneck.
That's at least half of it, yeah. So my pursuit of happiness should not be infringed on as long as it doesn't infringe on others.
Exactly.
Oh, and there's a little bit of understanding for your common man too. I mean, you have one end of that where you don't really care about complete strangers, but there's a level of courtesy there to where you should respect me as a human being, not to shove you down my if I want to see that. But there's also a little bit of freedom of expression on the other end, to where it's like, hey, maybe can show what I want to do, and you can show what you want and we do, and we can disagree about it. We don't have to beat each other with it either.
Right. I mean, even if I'm offended by what you say, Homestead, or you're offended by what I say, it doesn't mean that we've got to come to some kind of scuffle over it. We can disagree or be offended and still work together to accomplish the same goal. And I think that's what a lot of things that we've lost in our society today is that ability to work together even when we don't get along.
Yeah, suck it up, and tantrum your way.
That's it.
Paul, man, I agree with your statement in chat, but at the same time, those kinds of words are what the media use to label us as extremists. You're saying 100%.
I could go on a pretty big rant about that, but I'm not gonna. Suffice it to say that you're probably one man. You better have a whole lot more friends. Otherwise, you're just gonna get run over, bud.
Oh, he does.
I don't know. I've seen one man do a lot, even where the government is concerned. There was a time when the government tried to take a gentleman in Texas, tried to take his land. That didn't go over too well. Yep. So
on either side,
one man can make a big difference. No, not on either side, but one person can make a big difference. We just need to know with support, right? But we need to know what kind of difference to make and where to take that stand, rather than just saying, "Hey, it's time to bleed over this." It's there's some avenues to address first.
Well, I guess I gotta put a finer point on it. There's a time and a place to die on that particular hill, but you gotta pick your battles and make sure they're worth fighting.
Absolutely.
Absolutely right.
That also goes along with picking your team. Now, we go to talking about the government. You have to ask, who are they? And I say this every time I'm somewhere or something. Who are they, and how come they have so many codes and statutes? According to the way, my founding fathers brought this about, it was, if there's no crime, there's no victim. So all these victimless crimes now, like having too many cars in your driveway, and now is a crime. Well, is it really a crime?
No.
It's not. It's
an offense.
Right. And it's
which
under
is
codes
made into a crime now.
Right.
But
It's under codes.
Have become anybody else's business.
I'll take it one farther, and it'll tie right into what I just said about Paul, man. Been too many guns.
Right. It's like having too many hammers, but worse.
Yeah.
For some reason,
and
too many hammers.
They come and try to take them. And a lot of people mindset of like, well, they come and try to take my stuff. Just gonna get into a firefight. It's like, hey, one, you're willing to throw away your entire life. I thought about it on both sides of the spectrum. You're willing to throw away your entire you know and love, to either A, go to prison, or B, die.
Right.
So if you're gonna choose to die for that right, which I absolutely agree, and that it should not be, you better have a whole lot of help on it to make it at least marginally fair.
Mm-hmm.
I got your message, but your audio still. Somebody could make a music video out of the way your audio is coming through, like a. It's just pretty crazy.
Digital man.
Yeah.
It's the NSA, man. They tap everything I do. It's ridiculous.
How many lists are we on? No, I'm playing.
Let's see, one.
I'm on lists. They followed me from Casper, Wyoming,
Exactly overall.
to Phoenix, Arizona, to Colorado, where I'm at. Just random people showed up, knocked on the door, and said, "Hey, how you doing? You know, I'm looking for this or that." And it was obvious, a Fed, just checking to see where I was at, because I did some very controversial radio in my past over the internet. We were number, I think we hit number 20 over the World Wide Web on our radio station, and I was pissed off because during '08 I was doing very well. I was making all kinds of great money, and then all of a sudden Obama came along and shut down my industry. Put 3,000 people out of work overnight in one town, Casper, Wyoming. And that's when I woke up and said, what just happened? Why and how did they do that, and who are they? I'm not afraid to be on a list.
Once your eyes are open to just how demented they can get, you realize that they're willing to break the law way quicker than you are.
And they break laws all the time. U.S. Code 18 USC. Everybody should understand and read and educate yourself or re-educate yourself, because they're not teaching these things. But 18 USC says very clearly, if two people get together and try and take my piece, they are in a conspiracy and they can be thrown in prison. So what could those two people be? Could it be a neighbor and code enforcement saying I have too many cars in my driveway? Well, of course it could. I've had the county code enforcement actually come onto my property with a complaint. And I have this great big no trespass sign in front of my property with all the rules of 18 USC, and I told them, get off my property. Well, you can't tell me to do that. You want to make a bet? I'll have the sheriff's department come out here and remove you, because you have no authority on me. Your codes and statutes do not apply to me. They apply to you, not me. I only follow the law, and if it's law, that's different. If I'm over here breaking the law or tearing down my neighbor's fence or something, that's different. But you cannot just come onto my property and say I have too many cars. And good luck coming back. And they never came back, by the way.
That's the difference between states and the way the laws are handled. In
100%.
Arkansas, civil code versus, say, a city ordinance. City ordinance is treated in Arkansas as law. And the grass and things like that, you still have to appear before a judge for those types of situations. And, well, I agree with your sentiment. Fighting that stuff sometimes is more difficult than you would think, especially in very liberal-leaning areas that follow, like I was saying earlier, the people in power that push for cities to do certain things. That is where the good old boy system comes into play, and it's not pretty to fight.
Yeah, I just came from a particular place where building codes were very much accelerated, and to see the full force of that, and it was actually a big conducive factor to why I moved away from that particular location, is because by the time everything was said and done, it was 1/3 the cost of the building in fees, and had I not paid those fees, they would literally put me in jail.
Right.
Exactly.
And everything following that, all that just go to the government. So I was like, I'm not going to play your guys' stupid game. I'm moving somewhere freer, and ended up where I'm at now with no building codes.
Nice.
Which is even better.
Yeah. certain building codes are okay, but they get out of control. I mean, I don't want my neighbor's sewage running onto my property. So there's got to be, certain things that regulate things of that nature, and those things I can agree with. But holy crap, when you come over here and tell me I can't put a chain link fence up, I'm going to be the first one to put a chain link fence up, and I'm going to be that one that says, okay, take me to court. And I'm going to be that one that walks up to the edge of the in the courtroom. I'm not going to go past the gates into their domain. I'm gonna first thing I'm gonna ask is, what authority do you have over me? Who do you think you are? And of course, it's going to be a shitstorm. Been there, done that. Several people. We sued our county commissioners individually. I won't go into that. We actually lost that suit because we had a bad judge and we used their system against them. That's never going to work. You cannot use the bar association to sue a bar protected corporation like your city council or county commissioners. You can look them all up. They're a corporation, and you have to do some research and ask why and when did they become a corporation. And if you look at your original state constitution, the first one, you'll find out that it changed. When did it change? When did they become a corporation? And how come they're on Dun and Bradstreet now? When they did that, they lost more authority over us, by the way.
The way it seems like you're talking a lot about maritime law. Is that something you follow?
Well, maritime law is what we're under right now.
Okay. I was just curious. The law of the land versus maritime law.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Alrighty.
And you can look up. There's places everybody can go and look up in history when it happened, and it happened in 1863 when the South walked out of Congress before they closed the meeting. That left that meeting open. And there's a Latin for that is sine die. When that happened, the president at the time, Lincoln, put us into martial law. And Lincoln at the time, now this is during right after the Civil War, the 13 colonies. We were devastated. We didn't have any money. We didn't have, a good legal system, and this and that and the other. So President Lincoln made a contract with a foreign government to give us 19 different things until we could get back on our feet as a country. And rather than them coming over and giving us 19 things, they started realizing, well, we can make a lot of money on this deal. And they started adding things like codes and statutes and this and that and the other. Well, that company was, the name of that company, and I know I'm ranting a little bit and I'll yield. The name of that company was the Virginia Company, and it was from somewhere in Europe. I don't remember exactly where. They came over and we gave them 10 square miles of land, and they called it Washington, the District of Columbia, and they formed a government unto themselves, and they called it the United States of America Corporation. That's when it all started. Everything started going downhill from there.
I was just because a buddy of mine brought that up, and he made a lot of valid points. And I was just the way you talk, a lot of parallel phrases and words. So just curious.
Yeah. Sorry if that radio's too loud in the background. I can't turn it down.
You're fine. But I don't think given the go ahead.
Just not going off track. To tie back into the building codes thing. It has to do with just knowing your neighbors, and a big thing is density. To be quite honest, if you guys are on top of each other in 8-acre parcels, or God help you, complex, building codes are very much required. I'm not saying I'm for them, but you need more rules when you get more people. I think they're almost parallel with each other, and when you have population that's reduced almost to none, you don't need, is because it's just simply not problems, especially when you have done this equation. I'll go into detail some of the time, but about 40 acres for each family, 40 acres of arable land, and it seems to be about the sweet spot. And I think that's why they're divided up like that.
Sally, Sally in chat, PN1, who is that? You know, being stacked up on top of each other is a good point also if you're a prepper. If you think you're going to grab your bug out bag and get on the highway and run to your bug out location, you got another thing coming. Because look at what happened in Louisiana during Katrina. Everybody jumped on the freeway. It was gridlock. A lot of those people are very lucky they survived, because had that hurricane went and tore through that area and ripped up that highway with all those people in gridlock, oh, trust the government. They didn't open up both highways and made everything go in one way. They let everybody do gridlock. So one thing I got to say, if you're prepared and you think you're prepared and you're going to get in your car and drive somewhere to your bug out location, you need to really think about that, because first of all, let's say there's no power or electricity. You're not going to get gas. You're going to be parked on the side of the road like all these other people out of gas. If you're a prepper, you best get to your bug out location way ahead of time, or you need to move out of the cities. I've been telling everybody, move out of the cities. You think you're going to have running water when the infrastructure goes down because of no power? Guess what? That water is controlled by pumps. Well, I've got 40 gallons in my hot water heater. Well, some apartments don't even have hot water heaters in the apartments. It's a boiler system. You're not going to have water. So, you know what? Think about it. And if you're already out in a rural area and you think you're all prepared, let me tell you something else. Go out there and shut your power off and do not turn it on for 2 weeks and see how you react. A good example is hurricane season. You know, these people that go through hurricane season, they're prepared. They have their backup generators. They have their backup supplies. You know, they have their backup water. I've got 10,000 gallons of water on my property at any given time. Well, why do you have so much water? Well, I'm up here in the forest, and I'm going to protect what I have. I have gas pumps that run, 1.5-inch fire hose, and I will be able to maintain what's going on here. So when the shit hits the fan situation, one thing I'm not going to have to worry about is water. Another thing I'm not going to have to worry about is hunting for food, because I have critters that just show up and live here, basically. I don't know if you've been to my YouTube or not, but the main video on the front of my YouTube, I walk out in my yard and there's 20-25 deer out there.
Well, the more you hunt them in that location, the more scarce they get too. So that may be a consideration.
True.
Yeah, and of post-event refugees as well. Something that really caught me seeing what the events happened is direction people will evacuate from. Those areas become immediate hot spots.
Yes.
So, tying in with water, something that was a big deal for me. Desert and to the Ozarks. I actually caught for an entire year while I got my situation squared, and it worked. You know, it rained enough here. I don't know where you're from, but there's the fall here that you can actually do that. You can make, and I did, and then I also had a spring fed pond. So you get water. That was a completely. It was an ordeal. So collect your rainwater instead. and finally got a well put in, but had a cool experience of knowing that I can do that, having to survive that way for an extended period of time, and instilled that is an option.
Well, and a will is a great thing to have, and I like that Overall Living is talking about, that ties back into the network, because it really does. And not just for water or anything else, but no matter how prepared you are, how prepared you think you are, there's always going to be an occasion where we're going to need to connect, or we're going to need to have point-to-point contact or trading or something like that. You're going to have a need. We're not sure exactly what that need is down the road or when it's going to be there. It may be antibiotics and somebody knows how to make penicillin, or it may be, fuel, how to do that, or whatever. And we talked about abilities and trades a little bit before, but it really does go back to networking, and not just talking about, oh, well, I need to make sure that I know the right people. No, make sure that you know people who are like-minded first off, and because we can train in the other stuff, and where, like, say I lack, maybe you can take that up, or Porter can take that up, or I don't know, maybe I was supposed to use your screen name. I'm sorry, bro. Or a mutual friend can take that up, or what have you. And in a lot of ways, I know that some of us are kind of like-minded, like Faith. I'm a pastor, so a lot of ways it kind of flows with how we're supposed to work in God's kingdom. Is, hey, I can't minister to everybody. I don't have the tool set required to minister to some people where you might, or Plain Havoc might, or somebody else might. We're all supposed to work together, for the furtherance of the kingdom. We're all supposed to work together in order to make sure that all of our bases are covered, and it extends to more than that in the analogy, is what I'm saying. But working together is what networking is about. And if we don't have proper communication, or we don't have proper preparedness on our own end, how can we expect that on the end of the rest of our network? You know what I mean?
Absolutely, 100%. You got to fix yourself before you can start looking at other people. I absolutely agree with that. And bringing kind of like a parallel to your point, is one of the things that brought me here was how vast the networks were. That also ties right into tricks, whether they're private or public. And I think personally in the future, we're going to see a dramatic increase in private and public trading and bartering that are outside of the normal realm of giving money to Walmart to get your growth. Going to be more like a flea market type situation, that kind of deal. Or if it's person to person via internet, and seeing that and taking those opportunities to diversify your network and like-minded people, so that you not only have your trade route, but you have something that's also diversive, where you can say, hey, I know a guy over in so and so, he runs a booth doing this thing. He might be able to find somebody that's got that part for my pump.
Absolutely.
Etc.
Or know how to make it.
Right.
Exactly.
That's something we all need to learn, is, we need to learn how to make ice. There was a movie where this guy was on some island, and he made a giant ice machine, and I don't know how he did it, but, that's something we all need to learn, is how to make ice. There should be somebody designated. Look, you're the smart guy. You need to learn how to make ice. And speaking of ministry, speaking of ministry, Speaking of ministry, I used to have a bar ministry, and my pastor at the time says, "What? Somebody called me, called the pastor and says Ricky's going to the bar." And he's in our choir, and he's doing this, and he's one of our associate pastors. And I'm like, well, yeah, I got a bar ministry. I go down there and have beers with the people in the bar and talk to them about Jesus. And, hundreds of people got saved. I was criticized for that. It all depends on what you're called to do, and ignore people. I mean, people are so ignorant so often,
People are not who will be judging you at the end.
Right.
That's right.
Jesus didn't go. Where did he go? He went to the people that were hurting. Where did I go? I went to where the people were hurting. In the bars. They don't have anything.
Well, and
That's
even
all they had.
Jesus was criticized for the people that he went to. You know, the Pharisees said, "Look at Jesus. He eats with sinners and tax collectors." In other words, sinners is prostitutes. You know, it's not just sinners. It's specific. You know, and if Jesus went to what we would call, you know, the dregs of society, the IRS and prostitutes, then who do you think we ought to be sharing the gospel with? That's most often the people that we leave out. You know, and who ought we to be networking with? I mean, we don't need to just be looking at, oh, hey, you know, so and so looks good. He looks like he's got things handled, or he may be good such and such. Maybe network a little bit more than that, because there may be a family down the street who doesn't have any kind of network, no preparation with their family, you know, their kids or their spouse or whoever. They're not prepared for this kind of a scenario. They have a skill that you're going to need, or a skill that your network is going to need. Network that. I mean, really, that's say they're a nurse or whatever. That's always good to have. You never know who you're going to run into, you know.
Well, that and local, man. You know, like you talked about your relay network with your communications with your neighbors, and most people just don't even know who their neighbors even are, much less their faith or their principle level of preparedness. I mean, you don't need to know how many pairs of underwear they have, but you need to know who they are and how well they're doing, especially if something bad could affect you all aimlessly. And just because you got your stuff together doesn't mean they do. And if you're positioned to help and be a little bit of a missionary at the same time, you know, why not?
Well, if you've got the ability to help somebody in need, that's number one. God's given you the ability. Number two, you see the need, then you've got the responsibility to do something about it.
Correct.
All of my neighbors are backyard chemists, so except for one. So in a shift situation, at least that part would probably be covered in this area.
That depends on what their forte is.
So, that's why you're worried about forest fires. It's the explosions.
My kind of friends.
Oh dear.
I would much rather moonshiners be surrounding me than backyard chemists. But
it's like, what can you do with Trano?
It comes down to, like y'all were saying, with the ministry, knowing who your neighbors are. I know how far I could trust some, but do I trust them with the knowledge of what I can do, what I have, that kind of deal? Not really, because they're not in the same mindset.
Yeah.
That mindset
has to
can
be
actually
some
change
offset,
from
for
day
sure.
to day. But it's the Paul Man says, but that's a good barter item to know how to make. Probably not too far from the truth there. There will be
Wow.
a lot of twitchers in a shift scenario, at least for a little while.
Hey, Meg, if you want to go right on ahead.
But knowing your neighbors is great. Knowing what to expect from your neighbors is better. Knowing
Priceless.
how they're going to
Right.
react, because
Well,
you
and
can
that by
prepare
no means-
for how they will react.
Right. And it's kind of what you were leading into there is that by no means that you've got to make them privy to what you have available to you. That's not their business.
Exactly.
You know, just because I'm willing to help my neighbor doesn't mean that I give them an inventory list.
Absolutely. Practicing offset is paramount, especially from a prepper perspective and among people that either you don't know or are not preppers, because the first thing they do is freak out when something bad happens, whether it's prolonged, if they're not prepared.
Well, even people I do know and like and are like-minded with, like you can take Plain Havoc, for example, or we've got a mutual friend, his Discord handle is Southpaw Hunter, rather. And if you know him, then you know who I'm talking about. But we've known each other a long time, and we know that worst comes to worst, I've got his back, he's got my back, and vice versa for all three of us, and there's several more in that category. But that doesn't mean that we're all privy to each other's private holdings. We just know that we can rely on each other in a pinch, And I think that's a lot of what Havoc was leading into is knowing what your neighbor is going to do in that scenario, and I would say conversely that if you know what your neighbor is going to do, and it's going to be beneficial and not negative, then your neighbor ought to know what you're going to do in that scenario as well, or at least to the point that they know whether or not they can rely on you.
Know that you're not going to be trying to take their stuff.
Right.
Vet your neighbor at least well enough to where you know what their base level is going to be to a given situation. I would say that's absolutely correct, and you don't need to give them an itemized list of this, because, well, you don't know them, and the only one should know that is you.
And
well, when my daughter was 2, that mutual neighbor made Christmas happen for her, because he was doing the exact same thing that we're talking about, in being aware of each other's needs and showing up, and that was incredible. And we have that responsibility to be there for each other in the same fashion.
I believe you had something you're going to say, Havoc.
I lost my train of thought. Getting old.
Uh-oh, not the brain fart again.
Yeah, and a big thing for me is, the length of the event. So if we're talking like a prolonged, call it 3-4 months later, even if you've hidden your prep super well and you're just super slippery when it comes to everything, just Joe so-and-so, 4 months later when everybody's really skinny and you're not, they're gonna know something's up. So you might cue them in a little at a time, and kind of get them on the right page as far as what they're doing, so that they don't come after you.
Right, and teaching them how to do things. Even education. In general conversation, if you see that someone is mentally capable of doing good in that type of situation, but they don't have a lot of knowledge, try bringing them in gradually and giving them the little treats here and there as far as the knowledge, because that knowledge can save their lives, and they'll be appreciative. Most of the time, they would be appreciative of that.
And see if they're even interested in preparedness in the first place, instead of going, "You got to do this or you're going to die."
Right. I mean, there's definitely ways to go about it, but somebody I know that had been military but never had prepped or really considered prepping their entire life. I mean, even after military, they come in and you start talking to them. Well, you know how to do this. You know how to do this. Have you ever thought about this? And just striking up that conversation with your neighbor that you know enough about to pull them in a little bit for their benefit, for them to gain interest in learning how to do things.
Yeah, gauge them a little, see where they're at, and who knows? I mean, they might even be way more down the road than you even are.
Absolutely, and then they're gauging you at the same time, and then you find out, oh, I've been prepping for 20 years. Really? I've only been doing it about 10, but I would love to know what you know. That's how those relationships can evolve.
Yep. Yeah, and it's cross-platform too. Philosophical beliefs. If you kind of a basic understanding, mutual. Hey, there's something not right, and it's not gonna get it. Or the other version is, I'd be like, if something happens, whether that's natural disaster or whatever, don't like being uncomfortable. Starvation's
Anything about that scenario or any of those scenarios would be uncomfortable. It becomes, in some cases, just survival.
Yep.
And like Overall Living said in chat, incorporate those into each individual group, help other people out, teach individuals how to be more self-sufficient, how to survive. And at least, even if you don't have another member to your group, at least you have another ally outside of the group.
Exactly. Yeah, it's good. Like talked about earlier. I'm looking at options. Well, options is not only food, defenses, but it's also people. Being able to have people and everywhere I go that are my friend, or at least have some sort of common ground, so that I have options at the time. And that's that character really. And I mean, we could go as far as even faith to a certain, but very likable person, you're not going to have friends generally, which means that if something does end up happening to you and you're displaced for whatever reason, are you self-hurting, you quite relying on the generosity of people who you are versus somebody who thinks you're a good person, knows you have a kind heart, and to help you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, you're talking now about helping people that even if you don't incorporate into their group, that it's good to help them. And I agree with that, because, I mean, if you look at it even from a selfish standpoint, okay, because now we're helping people, we're teaching people how to survive, we're teaching them how to, build something basically that is more than just what we have or what they have, being prepared. There's an adage for that, is to give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day, but teach a man to fish and he'll never go hungry a day in his life. And now you're talking about, now we may not be adding to our network, but removing a potential liability down the road, because he's not going to come at me if he can take care of himself.
That's right. Yeah, there's only two types of violent people: evil and desperate.
That's correct. Okay, so you mentioned training. Everybody should be getting extra training in medical or whatever. Everybody should be training for something. And if you are trained in something, absolutely, you need to keep up that training. I've got certain training that I have to recertify my training, and I have to go to classes. Super important. One of the things we do here as a community here during a situation like if we had a forest fire, is one of the things we do is get with the community and teach them what they're going to do in a fire situation. We also have lists of people with horse trailers. We've got lists of people around the area with areas that we can keep the forest fire back, that you can bring your horses. A lot of people were shocked to think they've got 3 or 4 pets, but they don't even have one pet carrier. And those are the things that you bring to the attention of the community, saying, look, you've got to be ready. You can't depend on law enforcement and emergency operations center to save you. You've got to be able to save your life yourself. A good example of that is during a certain situation, emergency operations and the sheriff's department are going to deploy and go door to door, make sure people are out. One of the things we got with emergency operations center and law enforcement was, okay, so if I have already left my property, how do I notify you that this property is vacant? And some people said, well, let's do flags. No, flags aren't going to work because you're not going to be able to see them. It's going to be dark during a forest fire situation. So what we did is we got with the Forest Service and we got a grant that everybody has those, you break them and they glow sticks.
Chem
What we did is notified law enforcement and got with law enforcement and emergency operations, and we said, look, if they leave their property, they're going to hang one of these somewhere out in the front of their property so you don't have to stop, that you can keep going. Remember, firefighters, law enforcement, and emergency operations people, we run at the problem, we don't run from it. So when we're running at the situation and we're going door to door making sure people are out, and there is a yellow glow stick out in front of their driveway, we know that they're out and they're safe and we can go on to the next person. Little things.
Yeah, and that's two types of bug too. You talk about preempting out versus emergency bugging out, and they're different worlds to be in for sure. And it's absolutely encouraged to be ahead of the situation as best you can, and notifying tactical teams or emergency response teams that may find themselves in a position to go search for you, especially from the SAR standpoint, a bit of experience with that. Last known locations of people. So them not only left, but intended avenue of destinations is good too. That's why they always have, hey, go to this place so that we know that you're safe, kind of situation there. Like there's the fire, obviously impressive. Tons of animals everywhere, and they couldn't fit them all in the trailers and all in the area where they were putting all the people, like a football field or something. I don't remember which exactly. So what we ended up doing was we stuck all the animals in the trailers in the rodeo grounds.
There you go.
And that's just where they were. But that's where everybody was instructed to go. Not just, hey, get the heck out of your house, get away from that area, but go here so that you have a place to put those things. And I mean, there's literally horses running over. It was fun.
Well, I think you guys make a good point too. That if our training and everything just applies to a shift scenario, what happens to, down the road with other types of scenarios? What happens when a tornado comes through and takes out half of, say, Mina, or wherever you are?
Right.
It's happened before. Are we prepared for it again? What happens when we lose power for 2 weeks because of a grid malfunction? Not necessarily shift. I mean, there's a lot of things that we need to be prepared for, other than just, hey, we've government has collapsed and our entire ecosystem is imploded here in the USA. We need to be prepared for things that are probably a higher probability than just that. And a lot of times with your training, I know that Ricky, you probably know this, and Homestead and Havoc, you probably know this. Training is what you fall back on in a stress-based scenario. And if you don't train, you don't have any training, then you have got nothing to fall back on. And you've got to practice what you train, not just, oh, hey, I went to a seminar, practice it. And we're talking about to the point where it's absolutely second nature. Otherwise, you're going to freak out. Go ahead. Go ahead, Havoc.
No, I was just adding muscle memory. You're right.
I can expand.
It just cracks me up. Oh, you can. Okay.
Absolutely. Okay. So, during a traffic accident or a situation, I do not want to be that one person running around screaming that does not know what to do. I'm going to be that person that my training kicks in and overrides my emotions, where I go and do. You mentioned SARS. I'm actually gone through the whole SARS training. I've got the little certificate and everything. SARS, as far as search and rescue. I'm a communications officer for Emergency Operations Center. And that is pretty much the hub. When there's a search and rescue situation, they're not going to communicate through dispatch. They're going to communicate through emergency operations, because that's who's going to launch search and rescue. And up here in the mountains, it happens more often than not. A lot of people come up here from lower elevations, and they get up in the mountains and they get elevation sickness or whatever. They get lost. They twist their ankle. They roll their four-wheeler and break their neck. On and on and on. That's why I say everybody needs first aid training, because that's going to save somebody's life. And your training can go even further than that. You know, your training is what's going to kick in during a situation when you pull up on an accident and the car is on fire. And this is a little graphic, but this is where we got to go with this. You pull up on an accident, the car is starting on fire, the person's trapped in the car because their foot is caught under a gas pedal and it's crushed and you can't get. You better have the training to be able to cut that man's leg off and get him out of that vehicle. He may lose his leg, but you're going to save his life. That's how extensive your training needs to be. You know, forest fires, you got to know what to do. Because there's going to be families out there running around screaming that don't know what to do. You need to be that incident manager that walks up to them and tells them in that radio voice, look, quit screaming, get in your car and follow us or follow them. You know, they'll get you out. Be that person that's going to save a life, not that person that's running around screaming, not knowing what to do.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that for the most part. I think that one thing tying back to training, preparedness is a lot of people have this rose-colored vision of being a prepper for the apocalypse. And really, the preparedness, it's nothing to do with what you have. It's what you know and how you use it. And having mindset, that prepper mindset, if you will, basically, hey look, I am mentally sharpened to where I can handle almost any situation, and I'm prepared myself physically to be able to deal with any incident. And scaling that up or down, that's really the key. Is you can take it to your standard IFAC type situation and bring it all the way up to a mass casualty event and anywhere in between. But it all starts with capable and ready. So, take for example, your example about car accident. Well, how being able to work on yourself, number one. And a lot of people have training. I'm assuming here because it's that's a group is like tourniquet application. A lot of people don't understand that. Know it. Being able to do it to yourself is one. Being able to do it to somebody else, especially when they are combative, is a different ball game.
Right.
So there's that, and training is useless if you don't understand how to use the equipment, and then also be able to manufacture the equipment, have it on hand.
Right.
Right. Well, and two is part of it is knowing that, hey, not only do I need to apply a tourniquet when I cut this guy's foot off so that I can drag him out of the burning car, because obviously life over limb is what we learned in EMT school. But I also need to know that, hey, I can apply the tourniquet over there. It doesn't have to be right here in the burning car, And then also, know how not to react. One of the first things we were taught in EMT school is if somebody's falling down, don't catch them because you're liable to get hurt too. And two patients does not help anybody. I mean, it's medical's hard because oftentimes it's counterintuitive. It's against the grain of what you would normally want to do or shoot from the hip reaction. But I think you're definitely on the right track, and everybody does need training. And I like the fact that you brought up IFACs, Homestead, because there's a whole bunch of people that think that their, Walmart first aid kit cuts it when it's full of Band-Aids and Tylenol. And I can tell you right now that if your chief complaint is you need a Band-Aid, you probably don't need one. Okay?
Or you probably don't need me.
Right. Exactly. Because, I mean, what you might need is, hey, butterfly strips are great. Super glue is fantastic for wound closure.
Yes.
Honestly, for gunshot wounds and things. What was that? Cayenne pepper, yeah. Sugar is a great battlefield dressing. As far as it prevents shock, you can pack the wound with it, it'll stop the bleeding. As far as gunshots go, tampons, believe it or not, are a fantastic gunshot wound. Plugs the hole, stops the bleeding. Maxi pads absorb more blood than a abdominal dressing. Things like that are good to know, man. And when you're putting it together in your IFAC, some of the stuff that's hard to come by as far as medical standpoint, abdominal dressings or surgical dressings or stuff like that. Hey, man, get the ladies' stuff. It's built to take blood, and I know that's kind of gross to some extent, but it's easy to come by. And you need to know what needs to be in your IFAC. Go ahead.
Well, that's and out of my wilderness kits, as a matter of fact, that is tampons, puncture wounds. I'm not planning on getting shot, but it can happen. But who knows? I could fall and find myself on a sharp stick, even, and have to deal with a problem. And
you're in the woods.
They also double. I mean, they're immensely useful items, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
One of the things that a lot of people don't really grasp because they don't have the experience or they've not thought about it is how a lot of everything can substitute for those specialty items that you would pay a lot of money for.
Where's that again?
Arkansas is where I'm at.
I'm sorry,
No,
I'm derping out.
What institute?
What are you asking for, Corners?
Yeah, he said some institute to get certain supplies.
No, instance when supplies are hard to come by, as far as specific medical supplies, you can make do with other things. Was my point. But we've got some folks that are asking some good questions, like the Samaritan laws in Arkansas. As far as Arkansas goes with their Good Samaritan law, is last I checked, as long as you're responding in a helpful manner, they can't sue you. Is basically what the Good Samaritan law is you're covered even if you don't have a medical certification. And as far as where I plan on taking the person that I used the IFAC on in a zombie apocalypse, that depends entirely on how close the zombies are.
Yeah.
That's a joke, though. Because it's tank.
True.
I'm back.
It's actually true. One of the first things I learned.
I don't have to be faster than the bear.
Oh, something I got to bring out to the guys in chat that want to learn and want to do more training. You can go to the FEMA website and type in the search bar incident management, and it's a five part course about incident management and incident training. One of the things they teach me, or they have taught me, is if I'm in a situation where I'm on my way to help somebody, it's not my emergency, it's their emergency. It's not going to do them any good if I crash and burn getting there. You have to know how to take a deep breath and just head there in a calm manner, and when you get to that person that has an injury or whatever the emergency may be, you don't want to run up there and stress them out. You want to walk up to them calm, cool, collective, and let your training kick in and take care of the problem.
Yeah, stress mitigation is key as well, and it can go two ways. I've seen people in stressful situations absolutely lose their minds and they shut down, or they kind of overreact to a certain degree in the opposite manner, where they try to take way too much control over the situation and get in over their head immediately. They try to be the quote-unquote hero, and that can also go bad.
Everything requires balance.
Right.
It does.
What I was trained in that situation is if you see that person, you give them something to do. You go to that person, you go direct traffic, you go around the corner and direct traffic, get out of my scene. Or you go get on the phone, dial 911 and stand here and listen to me. Quit being excited. I need you to concentrate right now and do your job. I'm here with the patient, and I need you to relay what I'm telling you to relay that to 911 operators so they can tell incoming units what's up.
Well,
Take that person and give them something to do.
You're right, Ricky, and I mean exactly right. In EMT school, it was tell that person to maintain C-spine because they can't be running around with their head. For theirs, and practice mitigation or situation.
I got this.
For calming down has ever calmed down for
You're roboting again, man.
Should
you
be a
just
song
froze.
for you. Just went digital, digital.
Somebody said max headroom earlier, and I just cried.
Yeah. Are you with us, Muffin Man?
This question.
Yeah, I think so. Can you hear me now?
Oh, there we go.
I can hear you now.
There you go.
Perfect.
Repeat what you
Okay.
were saying because
I
you
was
went
saying
digital.
that nobody,
And there you
nobody
went
in the
again.
history of calming down. Y'all are like my church. You're listening until I start talking. Nobody's ever calmed down by being told to calm down. It's my
No.
point.
No.
Giving them a job is exactly the solution.
Right.
Anybody that's ever been married could tell you that.
Ouch. I'm glad I got headphones on.
So I can answer this question if you want me to.
Okay.
So where do you plan on taking the person back on post zombie? All right. So that depends exclusively on your network and your resources that you have on hand. The first thing you should be doing is prepping them for transportation. In other words, stabilizing them. After that, you're going to get them to more resources, depending on the severity.
Or your closest prepper MASH unit, aka Northwest Arkansas.
I gotta take them to Walmart.
Exactly. Not here. No, I'm playing. That was better than my answer. I told him that it depended on how close the zombies were.
I probably got hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of free training, mainly because I wanted the free training. I have training through Emergency Operations Center in the Sheriff's Department. I'm an actual volunteer sheriff. I have a uniform, etc., etc. Lost a lot of friends when all of a sudden I come home in uniform. Like, you're a popo? Oh my God, you're a traitor. No. First of all, I want to know what's going on the inside. You know, is it as bad as people say? Well, I'm going to get a job on the inside and find out if it's as bad as they say. Not only am I going to be on the inside as a volunteer, but I'm going to get training. So I have communications training. Very few of you guys out there in chat can land a helicopter on a LZ up in the mountains, and be able to communicate with a helicopter pilot on their terms. I have that training. It's things like that. So if you want to really get some training, go to your sheriff's department and say, I would like to be a volunteer. Why would you like to be a volunteer? Because I want to learn. I want to be that person that's trained. And that's actually a good kit right there. I know exactly which one that is. That is a Stop the Bleed kit. People don't know what a Stop the Bleed kit is. You can't stop a bleed with a Band-Aid. You have to know how to pack a wound and all these other things. But anyway, go to your sheriff's department, go to your fire department, get on your volunteer fire department. You're going to receive training. A lot of the training I received through my fire department was different chemicals. How different chemicals react with water. Some fires you just don't want to run over there and put water on. What's that? Neosporin.
Mine's bigger.
But my point is Tank is talking about the high-speed IFAC. This is mine, okay? And I've got Benadryl in it for allergic reactions. I've got Neosporin, and I've even got Band-Aids in my body kit. And I agree that Band-Aids and Neosporin are effective. They are helpful. However, what I'm saying is the Walmart triage kit, the Walmart state just does it. showed up.
You went digital.
Yeah, open again.
Am I open?
Oh,
I mean, I've even. Are you there?
yeah, you
You're
drifted
back.
for a little bit
Hear
there,
me
man.
now?
We almost lost the whole sentence.
Gosh. All right, I've even got bug spray, tape, gauze, all that kind of stuff. And as far as IFAC goes, there's a lot of people that look at it as, oh, hey, well, you're just prolonging the inevitable, right? And
Well, they're
like
confused,
saying
too.
when hospitals are available.
I think
it depends. Go ahead.
to cut you off, man, but I think a lot of people can back with first aid versus a blowout kit. Also, those are,
Yeah, I've got a
Okay.
cat in my big bag. Mine's not like
I got
pressure sealed.
I got chest compressions that are designed to that are designed to burp a wound. Like if it's all there. I mean, you got to look and you start collecting little at a time. They've got these these deals you put
Scalpel.
over a wound that have good job,
Nice.
that have blood clot.
Right.
Everybody needs
A quick
those
clot in it,
because you
yeah.
never know. And
And-
of course,
and-
I've got Tampex and Kotex.
I hope so. But I mean,
Got-
and Tank really is making a good point, even though I'm giving him a hard time. And Lone Wolf makes a good point with duct tape being useful. There's a lot of things that are useful. You just kind of got to triage that. But Tank makes a good point about IFACs are great when hospitals are available, and that comes back into a proper triage. Is what is solvable. What it's not just what can I manage, because if something is beyond me, then I'm going to do what I can, and hopefully somebody back at base, wherever that is, in that kind of a situation, is going to have more knowledge or more ability to do an intervention than I can. But at some point, it's you're not giving up on them, but that doesn't mean that you're necessarily able to solve the problem either. So being prepared for the eventuality too, as far as what happens if I can't fix the problem. What happens if my preparedness is not enough for the issue that they have? How am I going to deal with it? Because a lot of it is like being prepared is it. I'm going to do it can be a solution. What happens when that's not enough?
Put it in the big one.
Which one?
That one.
yeah. I mean, from what I caught out of that, you kind of derped a bit, but you made a pretty valid point far as getting them ready to go to a hospital, right. So people confuse a kit, which is Neosporin, ibuprofen, maybe a little tampon or two. If you're a redneck like me, there's been probably some paper towels in there. So there's that, and that's threatening stuff. You're out doing whatever. You nick yourself working on the fence. That doesn't want a tourniquet. It just needs to be dealt with there. And you got your actual IFAC, which is something a little bit more substantial, like a lace or puncture wound, something that you may or may not end up going to the hospital more than like you are. So you're not dying, but you need help. Like say, for example, a deep laceration on an appendage. Being able to mobile that would fall into the IFAC. Then you got something like a blowout kit, which we're talking like severe life-threatening injury that is. You're dead in probably 5 minutes, 10 if you don't treat it. And that's massive hemorrhage, airway, your station, hyperthermia that's extreme, something like that. And a lot of people fixate because they're real in that tactical mindset, I think, in that blowout because it fits with their gear when they do their little stuff, or it's really pushed out there where that's the one you got to get because it'll save your life. Well, yes, it will, because because that's the first kit that does save your life. But it's also the third choice in the realm. Aid.
That's another thing Tank had mentioned because of the hospitals. That's why it's important to get with your local and regional medical people, because combining their knowledge with your preps, even in that situation, if you have a GP medium, you have stretchers, you have medical equipment, you might not know how to use them, but if you know someone that does know how to use them, you can get your own MASH unit set up pretty quick. That's kind of the way we're doing in the Fort Smith region. We're getting the professionals kind of pulled into the prepping side of it, but having the equipment for them to use in that situation, you can set up a field hospital in just a matter of hours.
Yeah, it's not hard to have somebody that's generalized in emerging, but having specialists, that's where things get a little bit more and having sustained treatment versus recovery. And I think that a lot of people also overspittle as far as the treatment versus the recovery of it. You can get yourself pretty there. It's when you start to need surgery is when you need a hospital.
And don't discount veterinarians. In a shift situation, we're just animals. They have been through the same amount of school as a regular doctor. Actually, more so, because they've dealt with different pathologies, different ways of fixing things than a regular doctor would, that would be not common to use on a human. Not the medical industry would frown on it, but it could still save a life. It could still prolong life.
Yeah, I can expand on that one too. A lot of medical supplies you can get at Tractor Supply, and they're veterinarian supplies for the user. Oh, there's all kind of penicillin,
Sulflexin.
Yes.
I shared a link for iodine with the guys on our Discord channel. It was a gallon of iodine for like $30. It was unreal.
Geez,
as far as how cheap that was.
That cheap.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But it was veterans or
like
veterinarian
100%?
supply.
So it was like medical grade iodine?
Betadine, peroxide, all
medical
these
grade.
things you should have.
Medical grade.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome.
That is cool.
Yeah, I know how to make it for $30 a gallon. I got other things to do.
Yeah, right? It lasts nearly forever. So you get, 5 gallons of it, you're good for a while.
Well, you use it for things besides medical stuff. It's not even funny. That was it for potassium permanganate. That's pretty wide usage there too. So oxidizer they use it for.
Can't you use iodine to cleanse water?
Yeah.
It can be used for purification. Yep.
Potassium permanganate, iodine.
Pardon?
Yep.
It's good to have on hand.
Yep.
Yeah, that's something that we kind of touched on earlier. Is as far as storage and everything, clean water is a massively big day to day, and like I mentioned, I turn your lights off, power for 30 days, and see what happens. A lot of don't understand how their water systems work, and don't have enough hand, or even know how to purify the water they have on hand to be able to feasibly used. And I think expanding on like the preparedness levels of that would be idea, especially like I know what the audience is, but like in more arid areas, when you find water, it is nasty. When you find it.
Well, most people don't know that you've got to filter it and purify it, not just one or the other. It's especially if you're talking about an above ground water source that may be questionable, because you can boil it or you can add your bleach tablets or whatever you want, but that's not taking care of heavy metals.
Right.
Correct. Yeah, one of the things that I was looking as far as bug news, there was a golf course near me that I was planning on capping on during away from populace. And one of the things that we at home was, what are they fertilizing the grass with?
Yeah, because that's in the water.
Yep. And I checked my filters, and they couldn't get down small enough to pull what putting in that grass with out of it. And it was actually it was a type of nitrate that was like pretty bad for you. And I was like, well, that's a source that's now another option.
No, you'd be better with pond water than that.
If there was any, that was
Yeah.
the desert.
That's the good thing about Arkansas. We have enough rainfall, and we have more water sources than a lot of the country. At least here in the central U.S., we're pretty good with water.
Yeah,
It's the filtering and distilling, I think, would be a better option here. But even filtering for survival situation would not be a bad idea.
Right.
Collecting rainwater if you're homesteading, that's the best way to go, I think.
Well, the charcoal filter is pretty easy to make. Go ahead.
In my outings, the Sawyers. Yeah, those are pretty good. And what I've done is I'm on them onto like 2-liter bottles and cut the tops off. I could filter like 2 liters at a time, and then fill up like a Camelback or something. So I'm not sitting there for like 20 out of the stupid little one baggie. I found that works out better. But if you guys like real stuff or anything.
Well, that's great for mobility too.
Yeah. Well, I do a lot of training.
Well, I spent 3 months in a tent on a mountain in Colorado. That's January, February, and March were the months in a tent in Colorado. So that's, no power, no heat, no nothing. And you learn a lot in that amount of time.
You learned wool.
Do what?
You learned to love wool.
Yeah. For sure. Hey, and speaking of which, wool is actually the best insulator on the planet. And it is the only insulation that has the same R factor or R value, wet or dry. There is nothing that holds a candle. It's pretty fantastic.
Yep. I was actually thinking about doing something here in a couple. I checked the weather. It's like even bring cover. It's like supposed to be 70s outside at night. Oh,
bring covering, because the flies and the mosquitoes are nasty.
I mean like insulation, not a screw, not anything.
Oh yeah, no, don't worry about that.
And another thing people in our modern society don't really look at, even in the hotter, our humidity is horrible here, but even in the hotter parts of the year, thick clothing, as long as it's airy and it has airflow through it, is actually good for you because it insulates you from the sun. It keeps the bugs, the mosquitoes off of you for the most part. I keep a set of coveralls for everybody in my family just because of that. Because not only, even if you have to bushwhack and go through the middle of the woods, you're not going to have to worry as much about those bugs. Even ticks, as long as you fold everything in correctly, you don't have to worry about those as much as you would in just shorts and a shirt.
It helps more than that too. Underbrush and briars and things like that too.
Absolutely.
Tank made a good point earlier about infection and staving off infection, because more often than not, it's going to be something little like that we're not really too adept at dealing with. It's going to be the downfall of whoever we're talking about, rather than some kind of a elite group trying to take us over. I mean, I live in a town of 87. Okay, yeah, we're big on the government's radar.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of people have it in their mind that some soft team's going to come in and they're going to get in a firefight in their front yard, all that. And the reality of it is more likely in the paper cut in a letter.
No, they're just going to close Walmart and wait.
Yeah.
That's the equivalent of ripping off the safety labels and letting the society have at it.
We could only hope. Just remove all the guardrails for about a week.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in removing the warning labels.
Who's that?
It's Four Corners.
I believe
That's Ricky. Four Corners. I'm
There it
definitely
is.
for removing warning labels. I mean,
For sure.
that would take care of about 2/3 of our problem, or a third maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, touching on that kind of Philly
Now showing
and
not
political. You know, when did we stop actually thinking for ourselves, man? Like, what happened? Be told that something's dangerous. Like, we have to be told that we need to open the pizza box to eat the pizza. Hot is hot. I mean, come on, people. Vehicle roll over at high speeds. Well, okay, could have fooled me.
Well, I mean, I agree with to a point. I mean, removing the warning labels about, you know, personal safety issues like, you know, obviously the pizza box and the coffee's hot. That's unnecessary. If the coffee wasn't hot, I'd be sending it back. But as far as there are some warning labels that are handy and probably still need to stick around. To give you an example, in the EMT book, it said when you're applying a jugular IV, do not apply a tourniquet, which means that some ignoramus had done it. So some warning labels kind of need to stick around because you don't want to be ending the smart guys because you're a dumb guy. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
How would you like to be the person that caused that to go into the manual?
It'd be like the guy in the military, for those of you that are vets, who caused the safety brief.
Oh, jeez.
Do not,
be
I
that.
repeat, do not take Humvees on two wheels.
Hey, Lone Wolf, refresh your page. I had the same thing for a minute.
If you're gonna
And
get
it's
drunk, don't barracks.
Oh, it wasn't the
Oh, what
coffee; it was
browser?
the lawsuit.
Mhm.
We got to such a happy point of idiocy in our society that everything had to have a warning, because if it didn't, we'd get sued for it. That's like when I bought my I carry a Canic, and there's all kinds of labels on it when I bought it. They're just stickers that you peel off, red arrows that show you which direction the round is going to come out of the barrel, you know, and things like that. You know, magazine goes in this way, kind of an issue. And it's like, dude. So I'm a firm believer in training with firearms. You know, don't jump in with no knowledge beforehand. You know, get a buddy or something like that. If you have no knowledge beforehand, you know, basic proficiency. But dude, it's rough. It wasn't the coffee; it was the lawsuits.
My thing is, it's not necessarily. I love things that have information on them, like items, tools,
Yeah.
whatever. Like, I love knowing that that wrench is 12 mils, and there could be a warning on it saying, hey, if you stretch out too far, it can snap and kill you. And
Right.
having that, like, the specific information is nice from somebody that's do not. But I think there's also kind of where it's like wrenches are bad if they are fast.
Or
Kind of thing,
you
kind of
know,
thing.
don't swallow. I mean, you know,
Right.
You get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying.
yeah, yeah.
10
No, I got you.
millimeter
At some
wrench,
point,
not
it's
for
ridiculous.
human consumption.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. External use only. Box.
Oh man.
Like, you know, I agree 100%. You know, suppository needs a warning label. Do not eat this.
Yes.
I don't know. That depends on the suppository. Some of them are fine.
They taste fine.
Ooh, damn it, man.
It's like Tide Pod Society.
Oh, God.
My gosh.
Actually, a warning now on the box. Do not. It's even got a little
couldn't even
picture of a
believe that
child
happened.
with like an X through it. Don't, like, because we're too stupid to read now. Apparently, there's a picture for us.
Well, I mean, I can understand them putting the picture because even before it was the big "do not eat" big deal with Tide Pods, at the bottom of the box it has always said, "If consumed accidentally, call poison control." You know, but
Information.
yeah,
Thank you for calling Poison Control. How may I help you?
My name is.
That's also where society has gone. We've started outsourcing our protections.
yeah. You know, I think it was it Benjamin Franklin who said that one who is willing to give up a little bit of liberty for a little bit of security deserves neither and will receive none.
Right.
So
Yep.
I don't remember
Sorry,
who it
Mike.
was, but somebody went to the data sheet for the Tide Pods and broke down every chemical in there. And it's a wonder these kids aren't, mentally fucked up or screwed up, I'm sorry, for the rest of their lives.
well, it's a wonder it's not more than that, Ricky. I mean, you're talking about the stuff that is in the Tide Pods. You know, the detergent there is strong enough that it doesn't just eat through, or it eats through your stomach lining, right?
Right.
And then your stomach acids will do the rest. I mean, it's absolutely horrible, man.
Oh my gosh.
I promise you, they'll
I
never
wonder
do it
just What
again.
happened? Like when we were kids, because we're kind of approximately the same age. That we need this kind of stuff now. How did we survive without all these warning labels and things on everything that tells us that eat Tide Pods because it's bad for you?
I've got
Like
the answer.
what happened?
Yeah.
It's another
Where are
method
the
of control.
parents? Discipline. Oh, that's right. Oh, I forgot about that. Oh yeah. He's no wonder. Yeah, my mom whooped my butt. Something stupid. Oh. Hey. It worked.
This equals pain. It's the most basic human survival trait. Pain is bad, so we equate the startlement and the pain from the belt to realize, hey, this is bad for me, no matter what it is. Or
Right.
you just have a drunk parent that just likes to hit people. Either way, it's you learn to avoid drunk people at that point.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
Daddy's
You
beating
still
up the
learn.
truck.
No, I earned every whipping I got, and then some I
So
didn't
did
get.
I.
But as
Absolutely.
far as saying that we're all the same age, Homestead, I don't know. Oh, this way. That guy, maybe a little bit older than us.
I'd say he's got some years on me. I said, within a couple decades.
He's got some years on him. This guy.
Oh, this guy?
No, this guy up here.
Oh, that's just because that's been there since I was 18.
No, you've been
Yeah,
drinking
that's what they
bleach
all
or
say.
something and you spilled it. I know what happened.
Yeah, it's the Tide Pods. They tasted
Yeah.
so good, I just had to.
It turns out you're 25.
See, he knew me
Hard
before I
life.
had gray.
You have gray?
I do. I've got a lot of gray, man. I turned everything to low definition so you can't see it very well. But
I mean, and that ties into like vetting to going completely back. ADD, like at your neighbors, and just people at your network. See where they're at. Like, are they stupid?
The answer is yes.
I think that's probably the first question you need to ask.
If you
Are
have
you
to
an
ask
idiot?
the question, the answer is yes.
Are you in it? Do you eat Tide Pod?
That's me.
Do you prep? Do you hoard the Tide Pods?
Yes, I cut them open before I eat them. No, that's terrible.
You
Neighbor says his
definitely
garage
have
got
to know
boxes
your
of them.
neighbors.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
because you gotta know who the crackheads are and all of them, because you know they aren't ready for anything, and all they know how to do is steal. We had a big problem up here in the county, and there was actually a church that got a grant from the government that was housing people right out of prison. And that church was actually bringing this element into the area. Well, we started surveillance on the people coming and going from church, finding out who they were, finding out if they were on, if
Sorry.
they were, felons and whatever. What do you
Right.
call it? When you got to
Inmate.
call your parole officer, whatever.
Parolees.
If you're on
Convicts.
parolees, thank you. Whew, holy crap, that was hard to get out. Anyway, and we started running them out of town because, we're just not going to have it, and it's just not going to happen. They were.
I mean, the idea is nice, especially from a church standpoint. People coming out of prison who trying to make a difference and change their lives need a place to go, and
Yes.
that definitely is a niche or a ministry that needs to be filled. But there's a right way and a right place to go about it. It's
Right.
not, you're not going to put that next to a kindergarten, or something like that. I mean, that's something that needs to be thought out. And I wouldn't
right in the middle
necessarily
of the-
even.
Yeah, right in the middle of
I
a
wouldn't-
quiet mountain community. No,
I wouldn't
Bad
even
idea.
necessarily put it at church. That would be, hey, let's buy this property over here, 20 acres or so in the sticks, and
Right.
where we can kind of show these people how to be a part of society again, and how their life is best when it's with God. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I
That's
agree.
definitely a thing that needs to be done, but there's a right way to go about it.
Well,
And
this
not
guy was
everybody
actually
that's
turning
been
them
in-
loose.
I'm sorry
What-
for laughing at such a serious topic of conversation. I blame Tank and Reaper and their comments in the comment bar. It's my sense of humor is twisted, but it's not that twisted, okay? And I apologize.
And
their fault.
not every person that's been to prison is really a bad person.
Right.
Correct.
I've been to jail.
I've worked
I've been to jail.
corrections, and I've met some really good people on the wrong side of the bars.
Yeah.
Because of a stupid mistake they made.
Yeah.
They paid for it, but they're good people now. Some people are addicts and they get through it. Some people never get through it. But they
Right.
all say they want to change, but only few act on it.
I would caveat that with it depends exclusively on their offense. So,
True.
like, if you're
Absolutely.
about a retreat recovery center for people that have addiction and got into trouble with the law because of those issues, and they're seeking help. Like that's a totally different ball of wax than neighborhood sex offenders.
Absolutely. That's why you invest in precious metals like lead.
That
I have
You
to
know.
clarify a little bit. These guys that started coming here, they started bringing in another element into the area, and they actually started cooking meth, and they were actually doing some of this on the church property up here in the mountains. And
Were they not
you could
supervised?
no, none, zero.
It's just a badly
There we
run
go.
so it was an
organization.
unsupervised
That
recovery facility.
It wasn't even a recovery facility. It was more like
Your
Halfway
objective
house.
is to rehabilitate people, and you're not going to supervise their rehabilitation.
it was nothing like that. It was like, okay, you got a place to stay, now help me build a church. And
Mm.
they were camping outside in the parking lot of the church, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse, I'm telling you.
That's
It
not a
started
church.
out
That's a money
bad.
grab.
That's what.
Right, yep.
That's exactly
Right.
what that
100%.
was.
100%.
Because if they were focused on those people or the community at large, it would have been done differently. There would have been supervision. There would have been, people there all the time, if nothing else, to give devotionals and share uh, uh, their relationship with God with those people that obviously needed it. You know,
Right.
Well, there'd be infrastructure, whether it's
Yeah,
human or
yeah.
material.
both
Yeah.
probably.
Anyway, we ran him off. The church is still here, and he's still doing his thing. And you're correct. It's not a. No, it was more of I got a government contract because I'm a 501c3 thing.
Well,
Yeah,
the
Those are really
least-
easy to take the wrong way.
Yeah, and shade the rest of us in a really bad light. But the
Yes.
least involved the government is in our church, and the least involved our church is in the government is probably for the best.
Yeah.
Separation of church and state goes both ways, and was originally set up to keep the state out of the church. So,
Yeah. He was doing he started recording his sermons, and at the time when I first met him, we were doing live radio out of here. And I would air his sermons, and I would listen to his sermons, and there was no Holy Spirit in them at all. You could tell it was a outline coming from a teaching whatever. And I aired his program for about 6 or 8 weeks. And I called him up and I said, "You don't need to send me any more of your programs. I'm pulling you off the air." And I said, he asked me why, and I told him, I was right up front and honest. I said, "There's no Holy Spirit in your teachings. Just not good enough, buddy."
well, if you want to, we live stream all of our stuff on Facebook. So, that's First Baptist Church Vandervoort. If you type that in
Sweet.
Facebook, we're pretty much the only one that comes up. Y'all, just any. I
Type
don't know. Am I
that in
out
the
of place
chat room.
given my church Facebook? I can't.
Yeah.
Oh, I can type it in private. Hang on.
Why?
Maybe I can even get a link. I don't know. Ask Gooberhead.
Well,
What was it
guys,
again?
it's 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock. I'm gonna have to get off here in a minute.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
probably going to cut
It
this
was
out.
the
and
link
leave
for our
that.
church.
Yeah, I'd love that. Absolutely. I mean, I'm a believer. oh yeah. Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, when I came out to the country actually, that got led here.
I got a great
I'm
bar
trying to get
ministry if
the,
anybody wants to come hang out.
Our ministry.
It's a joke.
I know it is. You're good. I caught it the first time around. I just think it's fun. But the premise of the idea is exactly where we need to be. I'm not saying go do meth with the meth heads, but they're definitely
Oh,
the
God,
ones
no.
that need Jesus.
Right.
Yeah.
We can go visit them in jail. I did that for a while when I was in
and
El
that's
Paso.
probably the
I had
best place.
had a jail ministry and part of a
You know,
there was a ward, the psychotic ward, where everybody was drugged, and went and talked to them and ministered to them. Saw some miracles, guys.
I put in the private chat of the videos. What I have access to is the link
Perfect.
for our church, and our services are live streamed. So, if you're not able to attend your own church or whatever, then feel free with us. We are Southern Baptist, so take what you'll there. But as long as we know that Jesus is the answer, we've got the right one. Yeah.
That's correct.
So.
All right.
Well, guys, any final words for the night?
I'll jump in there and do the first. Guys, thank you so much. Chat room, I love panels like this. I like it, when we're discussing things that we need to overcome and learn about. So, I just want to thank everybody, for letting me be here and let me be part of this. And with that, I'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, same here. Thanks for having me as well. And it's a pleasure to meet you, Ricky. I used to live not far from Four Corners. I was telling these guys that I spent 3 months in Colorado, camped out on the side of a mountain. So that was up by Leadville. But thanks, guys.
Yeah, yeah. Likewise, you're, and hopefully we'll do again soon sometime. Who knows?
I'd like to thank everyone in the chat for participating on our grand voyage of a first live stream. Thanks, my panel guests. I couldn't be done without you guys. Thank you very much. It's been very mental stimulating video, and I'm stuttering because it's almost midnight. Great first video, and I'd like to start doing this again and would love to have you on anytime. Definitely a pleasure. Thank you. I guess that's going to wrap it for tonight. Everyone, have a safe travel, safe evening, and happy prepping.
Thanks, man.